We have a motion that the closed meeting be closed and the board certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting to which this certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion concerning the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Shuttleworth, would you please certify? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
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 Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. If everyone please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone here. Looks like the weather's trying to get us again, but at least it's not snowing or raining. Or, well, no, it's raining, but at least it's not snowing and freezing anyway. So before we move on to our recognitions, I'd like to remind our board as a whole that prior to public input, we remind the public it's inappropriate at a public meeting to make personal attacks or to be defamatory or to disparage individuals or identifiable groups. I would like to strongly encourage our board as a whole to adhere to these same standards as we address issues we are presented with. Please address our comments to the issues and not toward fellow board members, employees, or visitors. So, in saying that, Ms. Hackney, I think you're on with our recognitions.
Good evening.
Before we recognize our February and March seniors of the month, we have a special recognition tonight at one of our central office departments. We would like to honor and recognize the hard work of our transportation department, and not for the reason that you're probably thinking. Although they worked extremely hard over the last couple of months and through the winter to do a tremendous job in ensuring that we make the most responsible decisions to keep our children safe. And I'm actually here to recognize them on behalf of our principals. You know, one of the most important things that we do in the central office is to define our work as service and support to our schools. Without our schools and the people that do the work with our children, we wouldn't be a central office. And our primary function is to support and provide service to our schools. And I think one of the greatest compliments that a department of our central office can receive is when our schools, our teachers, our building administrations are extremely satisfied with that service and support that they provide them on a daily basis. And I get to just be the messenger. I have two principals, although every principal acknowledged the fine work and the tremendous improvement in the delivery of transportation services over this year. We have two principals that are willing to speak on behalf of their personal experiences in their schools in recognizing the staff of the transportation department. So with that said, I'd like to invite Ann Dalton from Clarksville to offer some remarks on behalf of our transportation department.
Thank you, Dr. Hackney. Good evening, board chairman, board members, student liaisons, Dr. Thornton. It's my pleasure this evening to recognize Lee Livingston and Donna Connor and Tanya Pierce in our transportation department. They have a hard job. I don't envy their job at all. They've had to spend, I'm sure, many hours on the road looking at the snow, making decisions, and there's never the right decision other than trying to do what's best for the safety of children. And so I thank them for that hard work. But some other duties that they've done that I've just been very, very impressed with is that, of course, we have Power Hour at all of our schools, and they get all those routes for us, and sometimes we're calling them an hour before Power Hour starts and says, I've got one more student. Can you put one more student on a route? And they have just graciously worked with us and gotten students home safely and done it sometimes on a moment's notice. They always have buses ready for field trips, and have them there on time, and they know where they're going, and we appreciate that as well. And something different and special that Mr. Livingston has done is he's joined us in our special education meetings. When we have a need for special transportation, he comes and sits in on the meeting so that he can meet the specific needs of that child. And I've never had a transportation director do that before, and I thank him for that. Most of all three of them are dedicated to the safety of our children, and we know that's our #1 priority. When we have power hour or other things like that, they stay there until the very last child gets home. They call me at the school and they tell me all the Clarksville buses have let all the children off, everyone is safe. And so I can go home and rest easy, and I do thank them for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
At this time, I've also asked Joan Covington from South Hill Elementary to offer some remarks as well.
Good evening, school board members and Mr. Chairman, Dr. Thornton, and student liaisons. I'm also speaking tonight to acknowledge the effectiveness of the Transportation Department. Mr. Livingston, Ms. Connor, and Ms. Pierce have been extremely helpful in all the aspects of our buses this year at South Hill Elementary School. Mr. Livingston has been supportive in parking lot issues at South Hill Elementary. He has also participated in many conversations that I've had with parents concerning discipline issues and that involve the safety of not only that child but children on the school bus. He makes himself available to attend parent meetings, and he also makes himself available to come to IEP meetings. He communicates with us in a very positive and effective way. Ms. Connor and Ms. Pierce are instrumental at the bus shop. I arrive early to work, and I know that if there's a bus issue, I don't have to worry about it because they're there in the mornings and they send me an email or call me, and I'm sitting right there at my desk and can take care of the issue before the children ever arrive to my building. So I'm very appreciative of that. We also have power hour until into the evening hours, and those ladies stay there, and we are either on chat or they email me or we call, and they keep me informed on where my children are on their routes, and they call me as soon as the last child is delivered, and I know they're sitting right there with me, and I do not worry about the safety of my children. This team has worked hard on the routes for Power Hour, and just like Ms. Dalton said, you know, sometimes at the nth hour a child shows up and says, oh, my mom changed her mind and I can stay, and we call and they get them right on the bus, and that has never been an issue, and we certainly appreciate their flexibility in that to meet the needs of our children. And this has been the smoothest year that we have had with Power Hour as far as the routes have been concerned, because they sought input not only from us at the school level, but from the drivers who run the routes. And I think that's so important that they got their input, because they can say, oh no, it's easier for me to go down this street and you go down this street, and everybody knows their job. And it has been wonderful the way that they involve everybody in the plan. Again, the effective communication displayed at the building, and it has helped us at the building level. Lastly, this team has also helped us complete drills at our school. And if you've not been involved or seen a drill at my school, it is quite an event. And we just finished one today, and Ms. Connor was right there with us, both parking lots rolling, and they have been very supportive. And I feel like for the first time, our safety drills are done correctly and with the students' best interest at hand. And so I am so thankful for that. And South Hill is very thankful for the hard work that they do for all of our children. Thank you.
So members of the board, with those wonderful specific comments, we'd like to recognize and acknowledge the three members of our transportation department. I would also like to put in a little plug, and she's not going to be happy with me doing this. I will tell you that right now. She doesn't like this. But I would like to also honor the work of Christy Somerville, our Director of Secondary Instruction. She has been supervising directly the transportation department as an extension of her duties, and she has done a tremendous job supporting them, and I fully believe has played a role in their success as well. So, sorry, Christy. This time I'd like to recognize Donna Connor. Pierce. Okay. Accepting for. No, I'll do that. And Mr. Lee Livingston.
I changed my mind. I will say something. Thank you to the principals. Thank you to the Board of Education and Dr. Thornton for your support. And without your support, we can't pull this off either. Thank you very much.
Members of the board, as you know, as a result of one of those inclement weather days, we missed an opportunity to recognize our February Seniors of the Month. So tonight we're going to recognize both our February and our March Seniors of the Month. We'll begin with Kara Jo Smith. The faculty, staff, and administration at Bluestone High School are pleased to announce that Miss Kara Jo Smith is the February Senior of the Month. Kara Jo currently has a GPA of 4.03 and is very dedicated to all of her studies. This year, she's serving as a member of the Ecology Club. Her DE biology teacher, Ms. Krista Moody, said of Kara, Kara is a very, very hard worker. She has overcome a lot of adversity to keep her grades high. She knows her limits and has confidence enough to ask for help. I have a great amount of respect for her. In her spare time, Kara Jo works at Food Lion as a cashier and enjoys spending time with her friends. After high school, she plans to attend Longwood University and study child therapy. When Kara Jo was asked about the influential people in her life, I always love this answer, she stated, "My mom is very influential to me because she is so very strong-willed, and throughout everything I've been through, she has always been there for me." Kara Jo is the daughter of Mr. Kenneth Smith and Ms. Kim Fuller, and she resides in Boynton. We are pleased and honored to have her serve as the February Senior of the Month for Bluestone High School. Please join me in congratulating Kara Jo. Hunter Nicole Tim. Parkview High School is proud to announce Hunter as the February Senior of the Month. She's the daughter of Ron and Melissa Newton, and her family resides in Bracy. Hunter's been a straight A. I'm sorry. Okay. Ron and Melissa Tim. And her family resides in Bracy, Virginia. Hunter has been a straight A student since her freshman year, and she's involved in numerous school clubs and activities. She has a wonderful list of accomplishments. She's the Student Government Association president, the FBLA president, and she's the vice president of Relay for Life. She's a member of DECA, Beta, Youth of Virginia Speak Out, Drama, as well as the Spanish Club. Hunter competes interscholastically with the forensics team as well. She has also worked with off-campus groups, including the Children's Theater and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. She was the campaign manager for Teens for Genes. She helped to connect Parkview High School with community members and businesses to collect over 400 pair of new and used jeans for homeless teens. When Hunter learned that she was selected as Senior of the Month, she said, "I am honored to have been chosen for this award. This is a great accomplishment, and I am very thankful." Ms. Elmore nominated Hunter and said of her, "Hunter is attentive, she demands excellence of herself, and is anxious to help other students to be the best that they can be. She's brought many things to class to share with the other students that help them learn the material. I highly recommend her for Student of the Month. She is extremely deserving." Hunter has been accepted to JMU as well as the University of Virginia. She will attend UVA in the fall and major in medical sales. Parkview High School congratulates Hunter Nicole Tim as the February Senior of the Month. Unfortunately, our March Senior of the Month for Bluestone High School could not be here tonight, but it's for a really good reason. Devin Roberts is the Senior of the Month for March for Bluestone High School, is currently at Elizabeth City State University trying out for their basketball team for next year. So very, very good excuse. But I would like to honor the student as well and go ahead and share with you what the faculty said about this fine young man. The faculty, staff, and administration at Bluestone High School are pleased to announce that Mr. Devin Roberts is our March Senior of the Month. Devin is very dedicated to his studies. While at Bluestone, his favorite classes have been photojournalism, art, history, Spanish, and Algebra 2. Devin feels that Spanish is a very important class to take in order to be able to communicate with others and will also help him when he begins to look for a job in the future. He also enjoys history class and believes it's one of the most important classes because you learn the background as to how our nation was formed and the connections between the past and the events we experience today. Devin has been a member of the basketball team at Bluestone High School for 3 years and plans to run track this year for the first time. His favorite moment on the basketball team this year was winning the district championship, something that has not happened at this school since 1995. Mrs. Reese, his U.S. history teacher, said of Devin, "He is an exceptional young man. He was such a hard worker in class and always has a positive attitude. I never had to ask him twice to do anything. He's also an outstanding athlete who has a very bright future ahead of him." His U.S. government teacher, Mr. Richard Brown, said of Devin, "He is a well-mannered and motivated young man. He has shown a strong desire to be successful in his academic pursuits. He has represented Bluestone very well in his on- and off-court behavior in athletics. Devin is the type of young man that represents the good we want to see in all of our students." In his spare time, he enjoys hanging out with friends, watching TV, shopping, and playing basketball. He also takes care of his 2-year-old sister and helps out his grandmother by driving her around so she can shop and go visit friends. He attends church in Richmond, Virginia. After high school, he wants to attend Elizabeth City State University in North Carolina to play basketball and plans to study engineering. When asked about the influential person in his life, he stated, "My mom, also, is very influential to me because she is a single mother and she's very strong. She took care of 3 kids, all on her own." Devin is the son of Daquita McBee and Sherman Roberts and resides in Skipwith with his grandmother, Rachel McBee. We are pleased and honored to have him serve as the March Senior of the Month from Parkview High School. Bluestone High School, forgive me. Jacob Ryan Newton. Parkview High School is proud to announce Jacob as the March Senior of the Month. He is the son of Robin and Tim Newton. Please tell me that's right. Whew. And his family resides in South Hill. Jacob was a very successful kicker and punter on the varsity football team, and he's played soccer and baseball for the Dragons athletic program. In addition to athletics, he is involved in many school clubs and activities. Jacob is a member of the Beta Club, DECA, and Student Government Association. Jacob has also worked with off-campus groups, including the Children's Theater, Relay for Life, and he is the Methodist Church Youth Group President. Great. Jacob currently works part-time as a waiter at the Horseshoe Restaurant in South Hill. He has also worked at Tanglewood Shores Country Club as a groundskeeper, lifeguard, and a cashier. His strong work ethic and commitment to excellence has allowed him to consistently post honor roll grades while maintaining his very busy schedule. When Jacob learned of this award, he said he was very surprised that I was chosen. His teachers have noticed his positive characteristics. He's earned the respect of his peers, his teachers, his coaches, and our athletic director, who personally nominated him for this award for his diligence as a student and his sportsmanship as an athlete. Jacob will attend Shenandoah University in the fall, and he is committed to the football program there. He will major in pre-physical therapy and attend graduate school to pursue his goal of becoming a physical therapist. Congratulations to Jacob Ryan Newton, the Parkview High School Senior of the Month.
We want to take a quick 5 minutes, and everyone that was recognized, please come forward and let us greet you real quick. Mr. Bullock's not coming. He's not being rude, but he has a cold, and I'm hoping he gives it to Miss Hannah.
Go ahead.
I would like to say congratulations to everyone who receives awards tonight.
That's fine. I'm all in your way. Just remember, it starts to make you it starts to make
Testing.
Who is next here?
Carpentry.
So, yep, you on item A, item 7A. Who's got that? Mr. Coleman? Mr. Coleman, I think this is you, sir. Or is...
You just stepped out, took
Oh,
a picture.
oh, did he? Okay. I thought I saw him there a second ago. We'll let y'all go with the young men. Y'all can wait for him if you need to.
Good evening, Dr. Thornton, Mr. Puryear. I'm here. My name is Kat Peterson. I'm joined by my friend Tristan Daniels, and today we'll be presenting some of the exciting projects that the carpentry department has done at Bluestone High School with Mr. Puryear as our, Mr. Thomas, my bad, as our teacher.
Throughout the course of this school year, we've learned many things in Ms. Thomas's carpentry class, like how to operate power tools, hand tools, basic safety procedure, and many skills that we will find useful in our future hobby as carpentry. Here we have some of the projects we've completed throughout the school year. We have the boys locker room door, the ticket booth, the tool closet, the dugout project, the dovetail boxes, which were more of a class project meant as to basically give us grades in class because it's hard to grade us, and the office flooring project.
Here was when we were beginning, Mr. Thomas was teaching us about bent lamination, where basically you grab thin strips of wood and you put them together, you glue them together, and then you get clamps. You fold them into the arc that you want, and after it sets and the glue sticks, you take the clamps off, and it's just a nice sturdy arc rather than just cutting it out of a piece of plywood, and it's just a lot stronger. And to introduce us to this, we built a bench prototype. We weren't able to finish it. That wasn't the goal. It was mostly to help us learn what it can do and the pressure that it can take, and it won't break.
Here we have the tool closet, which was built within the tool room. This was the solution we came up to. This is the solution we came up with for a water leak we had in the roof, which caused over $500 in damage. Here we have a picture of it completed. As you can see, everything's a good 3 or 4 feet off the ground. Everything is nice, neat, and organized. Everything's in place.
This is a ticket booth project, and the reason for doing this is because the old ticket booth we had by the football stadium, it was just old, decrepit, it was falling apart, it was not too nice to look at, so we decided to build a new one.
Here we have a demonstration of the rafters and the frame, basically the skeleton of the ticket booth. Now this photo was taken during our pre-assembly phase when we were working in the shop, working out all the kinks and whatnot, making sure it was up to snuff.
This is the finished project. As you can see, it looks a lot nicer. We did get some help from the art department, which helped us paint it and do the logo on the side, and also the ag department, which helped us carry it out and set it down. And the reason the ticket booth is so much better than the old one, besides the way it looks, is just because it does have insulation, it has windows, it has a door, and it has a counter on the inside. This is our dugout project, where Coach Powell, the baseball coach, came up to us, and he basically told us that he wanted an announcement type area above the dugout. He gave us a set budget, and he told us we didn't have to go and make something all big and fancy, but we didn't listen to that, and staying within the budget, we built something that was nice, so when the baseball games did happen, you know, it was good to look at, and it wasn't just something that people just put together.
Here we are preparing the footing for the support post. Now the purpose of this was the dugout as a building only has 3 walls. Now to support the deck, the solution we came up with is we took an 8-foot hole and we dug a 2-foot hole in the ground, so it sticks up about 6 feet now. And across the 24-foot wide gap, we have a post in the middle to support the deck and mainly keep it there.
And this from the same post, we had to cover the 24-foot, but we didn't have a piece of wood long enough to extend the 24-foot, and even if we did, it wouldn't be such a strong hold. So Mr. Thomas taught us about a scarf joint, which is derived from Japan, where instead of nailing it together or gluing it together, you would cut them out in puzzle pieces, I guess you can say, and put them together, and it just lasts a lot longer. It's a much stronger hold.
Here we have some students cutting and placing floor joists. These were spaced 16 inches on the center. Now that means for every 16 inches there was one of these boards to mainly act as the frame and support of the deck. Here we also have pictures of some of our students working on the dugout project. We have Travis nailing floorboards to the frame, which we just previously discussed. And we have Hunter and Matthew, along with Mr. Thomas, lifting support posts for the roof onto the top of the building.
And after everybody worked together to get the heavy post up on the roof, we basically put them together. We put them where they needed to be, and then we fine-tuned the mortise for the knee brace.
Here we are plumbing the post, making sure everything was straight, flush, and level. That way, there would be no stability problems. Everything is rock solid. It's not going anywhere for a long time.
After installing the bolts, or better yet, before installing the bolts, we had to drill for lag bolts to make sure it'll stay up and it won't fall apart, basically. We do a lot of our work in the shop rather than taking out tools and materials outside and working wherever it is it needs to be built. And the reason for that is because when we build it inside, we have all the tools in there, we have all the material, we can fine-tune it. If we get something wrong, we can easily fix it rather than running back and forth from the project site to the shop. And an example of that was the pre-assembled, the covered deck for the dugout, where you can see here that we assembled it in the shop. We made sure everything was met to its standards, and then afterwards we took it apart, carried it out to the dugout, and built it back up there.
Here we have a picture of the support beams that were just previously shown, and while we were attaching them to the building, we had to nail these temporary support posts to keep them there while we were attaching them. They have been removed shortly since.
This is the ridge beam and the rafters for the roof. Right here we haven't installed it, but it is installed now. And this is the dugout, which is 95% finished. All that is missing is the steps to safely go up and down. And we did, before choosing the roof that we did, we priced them between a metal roof and shingles, and we decided to go with metal roof because it was more cost effective. The same stability, lasts just as long, if not longer, and we could also get it in our school colors, blue.
Here we have the office floor project. Now, Mr. Coleman approached us and said he wanted us to help make the office look a bit more modern and approachable. So for the first day of this project, we mainly stayed in the shop and drew out plans. We sent 2 or 3 students up there with tape measures. That way we could get approximate measurements and not over or under order materials. Now, we also had a faculty vote to see what kind of floor we would put in, and the faculty voted with hickory. That's why it looks so nice. This was also a student volunteer project in which students, myself included, volunteered their times from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturdays to get more of a real-world job experience.
Here is where we had the chop saw set up outside the school, which was relatively close to the office, so we wouldn't have to keep running back to the shop to cut the laminate that we needed to measure. And this is, like, students did use the machine. We were taught how to use it, how to be safe with it, so we just didn't, like, basically do all the little works. We did do a big part in the project.
Here we have the finishing phases of the office project, and while we're also removing the original counter. Now, most of this counter was recycled in the making of our new counter, which is in place now.
This is a picture of the office. The laminate has been all set out. Everything's ready, and this is us just installing the body of the new counter, but it isn't fully complete.
Here we have the 100% finished product. As you can see, we now have a nice little gate. All the cabinets are perfectly symmetrical, and it's much more approachable in the office, less intimidating now. Here we also have, we started building stools using the old yellow chairs from old desks that were found around the school. So we decided to recycle those and make them into the two stools, which are now sitting in the office. Now, we also use these around our shop in place of desks, and in order to boost morale and get students more into carpentry, we had a little competition in which we all decided to make these chairs, and some opted to use the yellow chairs and some did not. All of them came out fabulous.
This is just some of the pictures from the students that have worked with a lot of the projects. And during the school year, Mr. Thomas has taught us about just being, how to work together, how to be resourceful, responsible, how to get things done, and he has showed us a lot of real-world carpentry experience that we would encounter, once we leave school, and let's say someone would want to get a job in carpentry, and for that I thank him. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all very much for your hard work and your presentation.
I would like to ask some questions of the young men, if you don't mind. These projects that you worked on, what level are you, first year, second year, or did it involve all the students on all levels?
It was more or less a collaboration between all the years we had of experience. Now, the more advanced classes did handle the more, how you say, appropriate tools for the task, but it was more or less a collaboration between all of us.
Okay. Is your teacher here tonight?
it's-
Mr. Thomas? How many students do you deal with? Yes.
20 per class.
20 per class? Okay. I want to commend you on all your work that you've done. You've done, and I did see the office the other day, so it looks very nice.
And I have comment. I just want to tell you how impressive that is. I think it's awesome that you did things to help improve the school, and I thank you for what you're doing with the students.
Thank you.
I just want to add to that. Will y'all take up the test of building our new school?
Oh, boy.
Because that was nice.
We're getting hazard pay, right?
And you did an excellent job in your presentation, too.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Good afternoon, good evening. I would like to give an overcap of SEA visits that I did at Bluestone Middle, Clarksville, and Chase City Elementary. I'd like to thank the principals once again for allowing me to speak to your students about concerns and also great things that's going on in your school. I heard highly of PBL at Chase City and also Clarksville Elementary with the hands-on and deeper learning in math, learning how to count real money, and also with reading. I also got a comment from the Chase City SCA president asking for more class time. And keep in mind, these students already have a 90-minute courses. Also, the Project Hope campaign at Chase City Elementary, which I really like, I would like for Ms. Colgate next month to actually come and actually introduce it to the entire board. I think they would find it very interesting. Also, at Bluestone Middle, once again spoke highly of PBL. They felt like that there were just a little bit too many projects. They wanted more content done in the classroom, which is totally understandable. Also, there seems to be a little problem with bullying in the schools, which Dr. Thornton presented about 3 months ago. And from the school board, I would like to see if we can come together as a community to maybe find a way to help these students who are having problems with bullying within the schools. Thank you.
After visiting with La Crosse Elementary, South Elementary, Parkview Middle, I really enjoyed talking to the students. They really got into it. They wanted to talk about everything under the sun. And I want to thank the principals for allowing me to come and visit. As he said, they really enjoyed and talked highly of the PBL. And also, like Davon said, the bullying was a huge concern with each school I went to. And I just hate that students have to feel uncomfortable, you know, because the bullying is such a big issue. And like he said, I really would like to do something to help these kids just because that was the main topic. And, you know, there were a few other little things, but other than that, I really enjoyed seeing all the kids. And I think they felt important that they had somebody to talk to and come to them. You know, as students, I think it made them feel more comfortable than an adult coming. So I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you very much for your information there. We added an item between B and C. It was a policy item. I'm going to go over that real quick. Policies are principles adopted by our school board, and they tell us what is to be done, why, and how much. The reason I'm going over these policies is in recent meetings we've had discussions regarding policy, what is policy, who's following policy, and who isn't. When it's brought to our attention, we as board members need to review these policies and to decide if this is a good policy for us. If it is, we need to make sure we follow that policy. I understand that we as board members should know policy, but as we all know, our policy manual is a very large document. As anyone has ever read every page of it will understand that. But it has been brought to my attention, we did not follow policy 5-2.5, which is the hiring policy on nepotism. During our August 2013 regular scheduled school board meeting, the school at a meeting which I was not present, the board hired my daughter to be an assistant volleyball coach and to split a stipend for a coaching position. As I said, I was not present at that meeting. The board members who unanimously voted to approve this violated policy. Under U.S. Department of Labor regulations, the term employee does not include individuals who volunteer under this definition. A volunteer may also receive a stipend or a nominal fee and still be classified as a volunteer. To prevent any misconceptions and further discussion about this matter, I decided to reimburse Mecklenburg County Public School System a total of $1,500, which included any compensation, stipend, and taxes my daughter received. So I just wanted to let the board know on that. I don't think any of us was aware we violated that policy or anything, but I just wanted to clear the air on that matter right now with everyone on that to prevent any further discussion or implications or anything like that. So if you want to talk about that, we'll talk about it now. We'll talk about it board member remarks, or we'll talk about it whenever.
I just want to say, when I went through it, I never associated her as your daughter. I knew you had two girls, but I didn't really associate her as your daughter. So I voted, honestly, for her to be an assistant coach.
I just looked it up, and I'm the one that made the motion. And what is your daughter's name? Because I don't even know your daughter's name. So, well, that's something that should have been brought to us by the Personnel Committee, and I look here, Mr. Sturdivant, you seconded the vote.
Yeah.
Did you know her name?
Yeah, I actually did know her name. I knew that she was Robert's daughter.
Well, I had no idea.
But I was not familiar with the wording of the code. After last meeting, Dr. Thornton had mentioned that that's one of our main priorities. Because of that, it influenced me to get the code and the policy, and this is it, and I haven't read it all yet. But I think the wording of that policy is that the recommendation should not be made by the superintendent, nor shall the board vote on anyone that violates that policy. So when you look at the totality of it all, the recommendation should not have been made. This board should not have voted. But Mr. Puryear, I want to thank you for doing what you did. That puts it to rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just make one further comment, too?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm with you on the policy issue, Dale, but also in prior years, the board, before the two of you were on here, had an issue with a volunteer that was a coach. And we were told, or excuse me, obviously it's an employee now, but we were told that they were volunteers. And so on one hand, they're a volunteer, but then on the other, they're an employee. So even if I had known, I don't know that I would have thought of them as an employee of the system. So I think that's something that we do need to look at. As a matter of fact, at some point, and I guess, I don't know if now's the time, but I'd like to bring up something about, because our policies are confusing, I'd like to bring something up about that, so
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know when it's time.
We can.
Can I make a comment?
Hold on just a second. Go ahead, Mr. Bullock.
Well, I was chair that night, and I didn't know Robert's daughter. Had I known it was his daughter, I would have stopped it because I read the policy. And I don't normally make a mistake on purpose. And it was voted on by all the board members to accept her in the position. And had you been reading the policy, you would have known that since you know her, that she was his daughter, then you probably could have stopped that.
No, I said at the time I wasn't familiar with the
Yeah, I
policy.
said had you known the policy, then you would probably be able to stop it. Because that's why we meet in a closed session to go over these employees and things like that. And Ms. Acker was our former personnel person.
That's a personnel matter.
Okay.
We can't discuss personnel in public. So, yeah, don't start that slippery slope.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm through.
You finished already?
But again, it goes back to, I know the policy, but I wouldn't have known that it was nepotism because before we had been told they were volunteers, that we were paying a stipend. So, you know, that's something that we need to look at. Is it a good policy, or do we make them strictly volunteers that we can pay the stipend, or do we consider them as employees? So I think, you know, we need to start looking at our policies.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I've got one more policy item I want to go over. I do want to remind the board that when we are discussing this, we cannot discuss personnel in public, direct individuals, or anything. So the next policy that was brought to my attention is policy 3-3.4, which is our purchasing policy. It states that contracts awarded by the school board shall be signed by both the school board chairman and the school board clerk. I am aware that the school board awards all contracts in excess of $30,000 after being shown through our finance department that all proper procurement procedures have been followed. The majority of our contracts only have one signature line for the superintendent's signature and the company president of the company we're engaging to conduct business with to sign. In the future, to follow our policy we have in effect now, I'm requesting the superintendent to ask all companies that we engage in business with to require a line for the school board chairman and the school board clerk to sign to prevent any misconception about our policy or that we're following our policy, or until we deem necessary to change that policy. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that also. Is there any questions on that?
I'm really glad this is all being brought up because, you know, as policies come up, and if we don't want to follow them, like when we wanted to changing how long the chairman can serve, you can make a change then. So when these questions come up, we can either make a change if we want to change the policy, or either we can say we got to do better and follow them. But I'm glad it's all come up.
I mean, this is something we need to take into consideration in our policy and on our policy. An example of that policy or that kind of contract is our Cortez contract, which we adopted in 2010, which is part of a consortium we're in with Greenville County and a couple other counties, if I remember correctly. So we need to decide if we're going to continue that, our policy on adopting it and staying in the consortium, or every July the superintendent brings every contract back to us and we award it, or how we need to, if we're going to stick to our policy, we need to decide what it is and make sure we stick with it as far as that goes. Because we have fuel purchases in excess of $300,000 every year. That is an ongoing thing. So we need to decide if we're going to hold ourselves accountable and hold our toes to the fire, just where we're going with it and how we're going to go with it. And that is something we need to sit down and to address.
Should we have a special meeting for that? I mean, I think we should call
I think
Ms.
Ms. Tanner has something right there she was talking about.
But I want to make a comment about the consortiums, because I deal with consortiums on a business level, and the idea of having a consortium is so that you can do business at a faster pace. It's not to get around anything. It's to be able to be more efficient and to be able to do business on a day-to-day basis. And if we have to approve every single contract that comes back, like Cortez, for example, when our students get in trouble, we can't, by being a part of the consortium, we voted, whenever it was, through 2017, that we could use that contract, not use that contract, use that contract, not use it. If we have to vote on every single one, that puts our students that much farther behind. It also will make us miss opportunities that will save this county money, because if we have to wait for the fuel to come to a board meeting, for us to approve it and go back, those things have to be made, the decisions have to be made that day. And so we're going to miss out on that. So I, for one, think that if we voted for the consortium, that instead of micromanaging the superintendent, which was one reason I ran in the first place, because there was micromanagement going on, and I wanted to try to alleviate that. I can't consciously vote for us to approve every single contract, because that's what we pay him to do. But that's my one opinion.
Just to highlight the consortium, not only are we on the consortium with Cortez Math, we're also in a consortium with our regional fuel bids, our Region 8 consortium that buys our benchmarking materials, and also the Virginia Beach consortium, which we contract to purchase all our technology through, or the majority of our technology through for our individual classrooms. So that's not the only consortium we're in, so we're talking a whole lot of stuff to come before us, or that we're in, that we need to sit down and talk about and figure out exactly how we're going to approach it down the road.
I guess you have to look at whether or not it's time sensitive. I know some of those things, Mr. Keeler was here, he mentioned that purchasing fuel, he only had a certain amount of time to do it. But if it's not in that time crunch, I think our policy talks about a 30,000, whatever, spending limit. If we have time, I think it's better, so we don't have these issues, if it could be brought before the board, and then it's done, the board votes on it. But issues that we know, such as fuel and those other things, then those people who are in place should do it. So I just think we need clarification on when it should be followed and when it shouldn't be followed. And if we have that clarification, things will work a lot smoother.
Yes, sir, it sure will.
And I agree with you on that, but I think that the Cortez, which is what brought all this to light, was something that was needed immediately. And we didn't have time to waste, because that was something that we had students that were in trouble and that needed the program to try to get help for them. So in my opinion, I feel like that was something that we should have. You know, that's one of them, that you make the phone call, you get the help, and we voted for the consortium. What year did we vote on it? 2010, to run through 2017. So at any point in time, we could be able, and wasn't that before you were on the board?
Now, the consortium, as my understanding, you're in agreement with the other players, so you can buy things at a group rate a little cheaper. But it doesn't say that you can buy whatever through the time period of 2017. I think it says you have an opportunity to buy things at a better rate. So when we look at, it's still spending, and it shouldn't be made an issue. I think it should be clear if we can just come up with a clear understanding and work through it that way. I don't think it's an issue to argue about at this point. We just need to have a better understanding of how it works and just keep on moving.
And as I said, I firmly disagree, because I felt like, I personally feel like this is something that our students needed, and we needed to do it immediately rather than bringing it to the board 1 month, having to bring it to the other month, and then voting on it. By that time, school's out. This was something that has been put in place and the students are actively using. So why would we wait until next year when it's something that the students needed? And I feel like that's where the consortium comes in, because you don't have to go back and forth like that. That's part of being the consortium.
It's an issue of what's right or an opinion. Your opinion, Ms. Tanner, that it was an emergency. And because of that pressing emergency, it had to be done then and there. That's your opinion. Now, I think that as a board, we can work through things. But one individual board member's opinion should not say that that's the way it has to be. So that's why we should have a meeting. So what I've tried to relay to you, Ms. Tanner, is simply, as we go forward, let's have an understanding. What is considered an emergency by the board and what's not? And that will help the process.
I can agree with you on that. As I said, the point of being in a consortium is so that you can do things in a timely manner, so that you can do things as needed when necessary. Whether it was my opinion, obviously it must have been the opinion of the staff that it was necessary, or they wouldn't have made the call.
I guess that will be the question of asking, was it an emergency? Was it pressing? Was it time sensitive that it had to be done when it was done? if that's the answer, we're in an age of technology. A simple email can let the board know. So,
We were emailed.
really,
Well, I tell you, we'll bring this up in a policy meeting,
Okay, yeah,
because
we
I'm
were
sure
emailed.
we need
I
to,
can pull it up.
we need to address our policy or some of our issues on that.
thank you.
So, thank you both for y'all's input on that. So if there's no other questions on that or any more discussion, we're gonna move on to,
Well,
we're gonna move on.
I have some
That's
discussion
right, you
about
sure you have some more
policy.
policy, I'm sorry.
As we talked about, that we do need to start looking at policy, because our policies are confusing, you brought that out. I would like for the board to bring back for a vote next month. I'd like for us to look at it, to bring back for a vote for next month, to go with the VSBA policies. Because the policy manual that we have is a conglomeration of other schools, a few school systems. It's a conglomeration of what we had before. There's been confusion with it. There's confusion with what it was before, what it is now, what was taken out, what's really applicable to our region. I know that when we've been going through the policy manual, in the very beginning, we even found it wasn't even Mecklenburg. We had other county names in there, so it wasn't even edited enough that we didn't know who that was. As policies are being brought to us, sometimes they're not even timely. And so I feel like we need to go and look at VSBA and follow those policies. They have, from their brochure, that over 125 of Virginia's 134 school divisions currently belong to VSBA Policy Services. And I think that we need to do that because the benefits would be that we get the updates quicker. We would get, now, every time we get an update, if the staff has to go back and look it up, if we have a question, they have to go back to the lawyer. The lawyer is charging us another fee, and the bill goes up and up and up for the interpretation. Where if we go with the VSBA policy, with the students that we have, it would be $2,500 annually. We would give it consistent in our research and our writing and our interpretation. And they also give us the information. When you call and ask for an interpretation, it's free. So I feel like this is something that we need to look at and go back to that, because then we're consistently using the same policies that 125 other schools are using. And it's not that confusion, and it's not going to be that gotcha moment because one person didn't know this policy or one person didn't interprets it differently. So I would like for the board to look at that next month for a vote to go with the VSBA.
I would concur with that, too. That seems so.
Are we going to have someone to present the VSBA, a presentation about it? Can we get a presentation? And also, has this board ever used a VSBA policy in the past?
I think if I remember right, we were using it when I first came on the board. And that was before any of y'all were elected.
Right, and I guess the next question, if we were using a VSBA policy before, what sparked the change?
Yes, sir, you better answer that.
From what I understand, is when this board switched attorneys to Brad King, they decided to switch to his policies and paid him. And they actually used, I think you said, a conglomerate of policies. I believe it was Poquoson County. Basically, the policy was made, and we input Mecklenburg County's name for Poquoson. And obviously, they didn't do a good job implementing it and putting that in. And in my previous job, too, like I said, 125 school systems use VSBA. It's the power of 125 school systems that all use the same policy, that are vetted by the National School Board Association attorneys, the Virginia School Board Association attorneys, and that we're all following those similar policies. And so it's pretty much used throughout Virginia.
So we had it at one time, and then we switched when we hired Brad King.
Right, and now it's updated after every General Assembly. You get the update electronically, and you instantly are under those policies when the General Assembly passes new laws. And they have trainings that VSBA provides as well in policy throughout the year, and VSBA will also come to you and go through policy and do some training.
If I remember correctly, at the time, I think there was a consensus of the board that our policies were somewhat out of date, antiquated, if you will, and I think there was preference that Mr. King would go through thoroughly and get it up to a more up-to-date level, and, you know,
But
I think that was the thought process at the time.
But I feel like we're finding more and more that there are issues with it. And that brings me to another note. I would like to have the board chair investigate and bring back the name of other attorneys, because I feel like we need a fresh start. And we need someone that works for the entire board, the entire school system. And so I'd like for us to investigate that as well.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Anybody have anything?
I have a question.
on policy?
The school board policies that's being referred to, are they available that we could look at them?
Yeah, on your,
instead of blind?
On your iPad.
Were you talking about the VSBA?
Yeah,
part?
the
Yes, ma'am.
VSBA.
They're online, I'm sure.
Okay.
When are they approving the new one? The newest one, didn't one coming out the General Assembly?
Once the General Assembly is over, but we can get you the link to look at them.
All right, unless anyone has anything else under policy, we're going to move on to subject C, which is a consortium agreement. Ms. Rogers, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Thornton, and student liaisons. We have been a member of this Title III consortium. This is now the third year. This consortium works a little differently. We have such a small number of ESL students in our county. The federal government will not, and the state will not give us the money directly because it's such a small amount. You can see here it's about $5,000. So they ask that counties that have that small amount work together in a consortium. So we work with Clark County, and they are the fiscal agent for this consortium. I think there's about maybe 10 to 12 counties that participate, and they pull all that money together, and they just become the fiscal agent. So by participating in this consortium, it gives us about $5,000 that we use for our ESL students for some additional tutoring. So it is my recommendation that we continue in this consortium, and I'm presenting this tonight for information and action on next month. But this is a little bit different kind of consortium. Are there any questions?
No one have any questions? Thank you, Ms. Rogers. We're going to move on to subject subject D. Perkins Plan. Ms. Somerville, please.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Perrier, board members, Dr. Thornton. Tonight, I would like to review the federal Carl Perkins grant proposal for the 2014-15 school year. The Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act, Perkins, provides individuals with the academic and technical skills needed to succeed in knowledge and skills-based economies. Perkins supports career and technical education that prepares the students both for post-secondary education and careers of their choice. Our CTE Advisory Committee, we've met several times over the school year to determine the Perkins funding needs for the 2014-15 academic year. Our committee consists of administrators, teachers, students, parents, community college personnel, business and industry representatives. As you review your document, and I know it's on your iPad, you'll notice that it's divided into 5 sections. You couldn't get it to pull up? Well, I will email you a copy. Okay. I will email you a copy. It's a pretty large document, so it takes a while for it to load. It's divided into 5 sections, and you'll see when you are able to pull it up, it's welcome instructions, certifications and assurances, performance assessment, and you'll see a section called CTEMS, and it just means the Career and Technical Education Management System. And they'll have a CTEMS checklist and a CTEMS schedule. When you look at the plan, the CTEMS schedule is the portion that includes the financial information, what our teachers are requesting. The amount that's on there now that is dependent upon funding. The state hasn't released the new amount for 14-15. So what we did as a committee, we looked at what the teachers' requests were, and we looked at the last 3 years' plans and tried to stay within the same dollar amount. You'll also notice that there will be funds available for student certifications, participation in competitions, and CTE teacher professional development. And the funds support all students participating in our CTE programs. As I said, I will email it to you. I actually do it when I go back there. As you review the document between now and the next board meeting before the vote, if you have any questions, please call me or email me, and I'll gladly answer. I'm going to do it right now. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to do it once I sit down.
Thank you, Ms. Summer. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
We're going to move on to subject E, our STEM conference information. Ms. Tuck and Ms. Gravitt, please.
Good evening, Chairman Pereira, school board members, and Dr. Thornton. We are so excited to present some information that we learned at a STEM conference in North Carolina. It was hosted in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle Research Park, and Ms. Tuck and I had the honor of being accepted as presenters to represent Mecklenburg County Public Schools.
This was an exciting conference to go to because it was basically a North Carolina conference, and we were the only people that were out of state that got to go, and we were able to make some wonderful connections, and we're going to share some of those with you. And also we were able to just really remember what we're doing is the right thing. Okay, so this was hosted by North Carolina New Schools. North Carolina New Schools contacted us earlier, and we had conversations with them. They wanted to come and visit. This is a charter school program in North Carolina, and they have over, I believe it's over 100 schools. And so we're developing a partnership with them and sharing information. It was also by the North Carolina Science, Mathematics, Technology Education Center, and the Teaching Institute. That was our presentation, and we had a pretty good showing in our presentation. We were very pleased with that. These are some of the conference sponsors, and as you can see, these are some of the leading people in STEM: GlaxoSmithKline, Cisco, Red Hat, just a few of them.
What was unique about this conference that set it apart from others that we have presented and attended? The CEOs led trainings, chemists, physicists, researchers, scientists, veterinarians, agriculturalists, the employees of the businesses actually did the training for educators, and that was such an authentic experience for us. One of the takeaways that empowered Ms. Tuck and I as educators and validated the urgency of our work was this statement: a good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great hockey player plays where the puck is going to be. So for us, on the way home from North Carolina, we had this discussion that confirmed our mission and our vision for the students of Mecklenburg County. And as educators, we have to continue to work to set the bar higher for all of our children to meet their needs to be ready and prepared for college and career, so they know where the puck will be.
So with reverse engineering in the classroom, again, we understood very loud and very clear from the STEM leaders is that we need to redesign our lessons, we need to redesign our curriculum, the way we assess, and also our delivery of all of that. We also need to know why we need to do this, and that's because the 21st century learner is the 21st century future employee, and they're demanding this. One of the things that an actual talent scout with Cisco discussed with me, she said, when I hire somebody, I'm going to give them some tasks, and in computer engineering, they're a dime a dozen. They need to be able to communicate with me. They need to be able to communicate with other people, and they need to be able to communicate with people that may not understand their computer lingo or their engineering lingo. They need to problem solve and critically think, and they need to collaborate. And these are all the things that now, and she was telling me that she has to sit down and teach engineers how to do this. She has to sit down and teach them how to present to people, how to talk on the phone to people and work things out. She's like, I need your help. And we need the help from K-12, not beyond, but K-12 with these skills. And we'll teach them what they need to know on the job, but we need them help. We need help with those skills.
One of the new buzzwords in education that we heard was a learning ecosystem. And if you will indulge me just a few minutes, I want to explain to you what that is, and I want to give you a perfect example of an article I read today in the Enterprise. Sorry, Susan. It was called Farm to Fork. And we had a keynote speaker at the STEM conference who explained this so beautifully and so eloquently. It takes a community, it takes educators, it takes parents, it takes business people to educate our children today. And Farm to Fork is about local farmers growing proteins, vegetables, fruits to actually contract with restaurants within our community and serve homegrown food products within Mecklenburg County. And the beauty of this is our agricultural students go out to these farms and work hand in hand with farmers, learning science, learning math, learning about economy, learning about growth and yield, learning everything it takes to boost our economy. And that is what an ecosystem, a learning ecosystem is about. And I was thrilled to see that article because it validated what we had just learned at the conference a couple of weeks ago. Okay. What sets a prospective employee apart from others? Sanjan George is the founder and CEO of Matchbox Learning. And he told a profound story that I would like to share. He was at a global conference with CEOs. And as an educator, he was in the audience. And he stood up and he asked these global CEOs, what can educators do to prepare our students for your workplace? Please give us something that you need. What are you looking for in your future employees? And he said it was a profound silence in the room. And after a long pause, a CEO stood up and said, I give all of my employees tasks, little mini projects. And the employer, the future candidate might come back and have those projects done beautifully with every T crossed and every I dotted. No room for improvement, but that's not who I hire. I hire the employee who does those 3 projects well and has the courage to take a risk, to be creative, to create his 2 spin-off projects to bring me 5 projects back that will promote the growth of my company. That's my look for. That's who I hire.
So we were real excited because, again, this was a conference that was not just led by educators, but by people that are working in the field. And one of the things that we started thinking about is that not only do we want to have partnerships in STEM, but we really need to think about global partnerships. Not just here in our community, but we need to be global thinkers on this. Another thing that they talked about was about grit, innovation, and transparency. And I love this because it talked about making ordinary teachers superheroes. And that's what we want to do, and that's what we want to keep moving forward with. So our next steps, they had a round table that we'd like to kind of mimic here. It was a progressive lunch, and you could go and visit with 3 different business leaders in the STEM. And I got to meet with somebody from GlaxoSmithKline and Cisco and the VA Medical Center. And since then, I've been in contact with them. And so, like, for instance, with the VA Medical Center, this man he was over the pathology department, which perked my interest because we have so many middle school students that are all into the CSI and forensics and everything. And so we talked about that. And I asked him, I said, would you be interested in our kids maybe Skyping with you or talking with you as an expert? And he said, well, we'd love for them to come visit, and we do internships. And he said, you know, the more gruesome, the better, because when I was in middle school, that's when I got my interest in pathology. And that's what research shows, is that it's middle school where you kind of plant that seed as to what you're going to do. He said, I'd love for a group of students to come down and see an autopsy and to actually view that. So, you know, I've mentioned that to some, and they're quite interested in that. And we've talked several times, but we've also talked with Cisco and GlaxoSmithKline with another idea. And I love this idea. It's called an externship, and this is for teachers. And this is for teachers to go and shadow and work in the STEM field and to see what jobs are actually out there. Because many of our teachers don't know. I don't know. And we're the ones that spend the time with the kids, and we were the ones that spend the time with students. And we need to know what it is that they need and what it is that is out there. So this really excited me, and I've been in contact with Cisco, and she was really interested, and she said, you know, so many times we allot money to obviously give back to the community, and sometimes that giving back is donating to the local food bank. But it sounds like to me what you all need is our expertise. And it sounds like to me that, you know, we could form this partnership. And so many times schools, she said, I've had externships and I've never heard from them since. You know, there's just not that going back and forth because we do get busy in the classroom. So that partnership is so important to establish, and that we keep that relationship going and open and developing that. So I'm real excited about our next steps with not only our local industries, but making this global for Mecklenburg County.
And during the lunch roundtable discussions, I went to an agricultural roundtable discussion, a veterinarian discussion, and my favorite was called Vomit, Diarrhea, and Bacteria. Now, who wouldn't want to go to that during lunch? You get ready, Cameron, because you're going to the medical field, right? It was awesome. I found out that there is a Food Lion specialist who is an educational consultant, and she contracts with both of the food lines here in Mecklenburg County. She will come and she will take our children through Food Lion and talk about bacteria that grows on vegetables, on the carts, where high profiles of bacteria are found. She will talk about how we use hand sanitation with our wipes and with our gels to clean our hands before we really should touch anything in a grocery store. It was really powerful, and I have her coming to our schools.
So again, finally, we just ask, how well are the children? And we just want to remember our mission, because this conference, again, validated what our mission is. And just a reminder of that. And we thank Berlin and his partnership last year, bringing this to our attention. And Laura McBain with High Tech High, she helped bring this to our attention. And we really hope to be invited back, because it was an incredible conference.
And as we close, we really would like to invite you to be a part of the journey our children are on. Please get into our schools and talk to our children, because they need you and they need to see you, as so many of you are in our schools, and we do appreciate that. We ask you to walk shoulder to shoulder with us as we continue on our mission for beautiful work, and we thank you for all of the support that you give us.
You're right. I totally understand, but.
So, I think
If you
it.
don't know, you don't grow, though.
Yeah. I also think, you know what, you said, I'd be interested in possibly shadowing, like shadowing a coordinator or shadowing a PBL teacher for the day. I would like to, maybe we can arrange some way we.
Well, you can just come to us unannounced because we work hard every day and we
Yeah.
just show up and you can follow and shadow us any day. We
Okay.
invite any of you to do
Okay.
that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Tammy. Oh.
It's okay. I was just going to say thank you for bringing all of this excitement back, bringing all this energy back, and also for attending the conference, gathering all of that you're going to bring back to our students, because that's what it's all about, and that's why we need you so desperately, is to bring all of these resources in that we otherwise may not be able to afford if we had to pay these resources to come in. So thank you so much for that, and I look forward to a lot of other things like this coming forward.
Thank you. Going to move on to subject G. F, I'm sorry. Let me put my glasses on, Ms. Pfeffer. Hold on just a second. Special education plan. Ms. Pfeffer, please.
Good evening, board members, student liaison, Mr. Puryear, Dr. Thornton. You should have a copy of the special ed application for federal funds. And if you notice, I have the page numbers at the top of each page, and the first 4 pages are assurance statements that we're following federal policies. The 5th page is just a statement that we have no barriers to providing special ed services. The 6th page is our agreement with the Meharrin River Regional Jail in Mecklenburg. They have a satellite jail here, and we do have an agreement that if they have special ed students that want to continue their education, we have to provide those services if they request that. Page 7 is just a report on how last year's annual plan was done throughout the school year. Page 8 is the maintenance of effort. I just attended that webinar on Tuesday, so as soon as I get with Dr. Gardner to get the projected budget for this year, I will get you an updated copy of that maintenance of effort. It is a projected maintenance of effort for this school year. We fill out the actual maintenance of effort in November next school year. Page 9 is voluntary intervention services. We do not have to provide 15% of our federal funds for early intervention services, and we do not voluntarily set aside that amount. We do have to set aside a certain amount for providing services for students that are in public schools or private schools and homeschooled students. And we provide speech services, occupational therapy services, and physical therapy services for those students and parents that request those services and are found eligible. Number 10, page 10 is just how we spend our flow-through money, and 611 is spent all in salaries. We fund approximately 23 teachers, including intervention teachers, special education teachers, paraprofessionals, a diagnostician. And number 11 is the actual application for the funds. We use the amount that we have budgeted for this year's award. The new awards are not given until July. If the awards come back that they are different, I will update this application at that time. Page 12 is the application for our 619 preschool funds. This is for early childhood special education services, and our preschool money goes towards the salary of our itinerant teacher that serves students in the homes, does our child studies through infant and toddler, and provides some collaboration services in the school system. And page 13 is the amount we get for that. Again, that is last year's grant amount, and if that changes, I'll update that. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to move on to subject G. Ms. Pitter, please, our 2014-2015 academic calendar.
Okay, you should have a copy of the proposed 2014-2015 calendar. This calendar was voted on by the schools with revisions made accordingly. The final proposed calendar was unanimous among all the schools. Input was received from the calendar committee, teachers, staff, faculty, school administrators, and district administrators, as well as parents. The calendar committee created we started off by creating a 166-day and 180-day calendar. Each school surveyed parents and teachers. The faculty at the results were that 4 schools voted for the 166-day calendar, 4 schools voted for the 180-day calendar, and the parents majority wanted the 166-day calendar. With this in mind, a compromise was made to make a 170-day calendar, and the final product was revised several times to accommodate the request made from all of the schools. And some of the highlights in the calendar, it provides 12 professional development days for teachers to write curriculum, collaborate with other educators, and seek professional growth opportunities. There's also teacher work days distributed throughout the year for teachers to adequately prepare and plan. 170 days of instruction to allow for adequate professional development and teacher work days also gives us the mandated hours from DOE. Some of the other highlights are consistent start time with all the schools, which was a request made. And I think other than that, that's pretty much what the calendar has to offer. Any questions? And this is for your review. If you have any questions, feel free to ask now.
I do. I noticed that we're starting in August. We have permission to start in August again this coming year.
We do meet the requirements for pre-Labor Day start due to inclement weather. Yes.
I thought we were going to have more. We actually have more than the required hours, right?
We do.
Okay.
We do. And we have built-in snow days. And if we have more than more snow days like we did this year, then we'll use the end of the year professional development days to make those days up. Okay, so we'll review this. Y'all look over this, and we'll vote on it next month. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Spitter. I'm sure you might get a few more questions, but appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
I guess I'll stay up here for the next one.
Sure do. You may as well.
Okay.
We're moving on to subject H, benefits.
Okay. The next one is a proposed hybrid sick leave policy for Mecklenburg County Public Schools. Why a different policy? Employees hired on or after January 1st, 2014, but without prior VRS service credit will automatically be enrolled in the VRS Hybrid Retirement Plan and in Mecklenburg County Public Schools Hybrid Leave Program. The Hybrid Leave Program coordinates with the employer-paid short-term and long-term disability benefits provided for employees in the VRS Hybrid Retirement Plan. And as you know, this is a new plan for all employees hired as of January 1st. The VRS Hybrid Plan mandates short-term disability benefits that after 1 year with the county provides at least partial salary for up to 26 weeks each year beginning the 8th calendar day of illness, injury, or disability. If the disability lasts longer than 26 weeks, coverage transitions to a long-term disability policy. Employees may use sick leave or any other accrued leave balance to supplement their short-term disability benefit to receive up to 100% of their pay. And as you see, there's a chart there that shows how many days, for instance, if you're here, if you're on the plan or in the VRS hybrid plan for less than 5 years, then 125 days will be at 60% replacement of your compensation. And as you stay longer, you get more percentage, more days and a higher percentage of your compensation. You do get short-term disability for work-related and non-work-related disabilities. There will be a third-party administrator that will decide if you qualify for short-term disability or for long-term disability. Okay, so who will be covered? All current employees in full-time positions who elect to opt in to the VRS hybrid plan and all employees in the VRS covered positions who are hired on or after January 1st, 2014. Currently, our employees that are on Plan 1 and 2 have the option up through April 30th to elect to opt into this hybrid program. When will hybrid leave plan go into effect? The plan will start with the new fiscal year, July 1st, 2014. Will VRS hybrid employees be offered enrollment into the sick leave bank? And this is there's two major issues or two major differences between the sick leave bank that we currently have and the hybrid sick leave plan, excuse me. Since VRS hybrid employees are offered an employer-paid short-term disability plan and a long-term disability plan, they will not need the sick leave bank. Our employers under VRS Plan 1 and 2 will still have the opportunity to be enrolled in the sick bank since they do not have the short-term or the long-term disability. How much accumulated leave can VRS hybrid carry over to the next year? VRS hybrid employees can carry a maximum of 90 days. Our Plan 1 and Plan 2 can carry over 120 days. They don't need as much accumulated leave because they're taking an employer-paid short-term, long-term disability. What happens to a Plan 1 or 2 employee if he or she decides to switch to the hybrid plan? Employees that opt into the VRS hybrid can transfer up to 90 days of accumulated sick leave. They will adopt the sick leave benefits of the VRS hybrid plan. They will forfeit their membership in the sick leave bank. Those are just the highlights. The policy is the next 2 pages that you can read over and review, and we'll vote on it in April. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me or call me. I'll be glad to answer. Any questions now? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bitter. We're going to move on to our item 8, our public input. At this time, we do have people. All right. At this time, matters may be publicly brought to the attention of the board and administration. Public comments at board meetings are just one of many avenues for communication, and the board recognizes and appreciates the importance of input from and communication with the public we represent. The public is invited to speak. The public is invited to sign up to speak prior to the beginning prior to the beginning of the meeting. The clerk of the school board will write down your name, address, and the topic that you wish to speak about. The public is allowed up to 6 minutes in most meetings to express their views. Please respect this time limitation. It will be enforced. Please understand that it would not be possible to immediately respond to questions. As a reminder, it is inappropriate at a public meeting to make personal attacks, to be defamatory, or to disparage individuals or identifiable groups. Again, we welcome and appreciate your input. Prior to beginning your comment, please state your name and address to the school board. If you have any documentation, prepared speak, etc., you'd like to present to the school board, please have your name and address on the documents. Make copies for each school board member, which includes the student, which would be 11, which includes the student liaisons. A copy for the superintendent and a copy for the clerk of the school board. Ms. Shuttleworth?
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Randy Basie. I'm the pastor of West Mecklenburg Charge. I want to speak in reference to Action 9D, which deals with the policy 2-2.3 distribution of materials. Excuse me, I have a slight cold. My main issue here is to you is to be inclusive, to keep the Bible's, God's Word, in the schools. I know y'all have debated this difficulty a lot, but I would encourage you to not cast your vote out of fear. I want you to keep God's Word, the Bible's, in school. You know, the issues that the children face these days, it's so important. You know, this separation of church and state was initially by our foundings to keep people from coming in to dictate to us what we should believe, and to have the Bibles to be passively distributed without no coercion, and then to have this atheist group to come in and dictate to us what we should or should not do is deplorable. So I would just urge you strongly to not cast your vote in fear and keep our Bibles in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Shuttleworth?
Good evening, Board. I am Reverend Robert Hartley from Chase City, Virginia. And I had the opportunity today to attend a service that our Ministers Association does during Lenten time. And Reverend Basie told us about what was going on here and about the debate you guys were having. And I have to tell you, I didn't go to public school here in Mecklenburg County. I was raised in the eastern part of the state, a rough part of the state. I attended Norfolk Public Schools, and I attended one of the roughest schools in Norfolk. And one of the things that I enjoyed the most was a Bible study club that we had at school. I have to tell you, at the time, a lot of people couldn't believe that I was going into that club once a week. Just how I was. But I did. And it was nice to know that we had someplace safe we could go and we could discuss things. Now, I know this distribution policy isn't just about the Bible. But I also know that when we take away the freedoms of being able to carry God's word into our public places, when we sit there and worry about that, we're not going to let Korans in, we're not going to let other teachings in, and then that totally strips away what we are as Americans and having a freedom of speech. There are people that don't like me standing up and declaring the Word of God. That's okay. I hear people every day stand up and say things I don't like. That's one of the great things of being American, that we have the ability to do that. And I just challenge this board to be very, very judicious and very cautious in what I consider censorship when you do something like that. I thank you for your time. Hope you have a safe night going home.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who wanted to speak and missed the opportunity to sign up? All righty, our public input is closed.
Abstain.
Let me cut that thing on. Y'all can hear me now. We're going to move on to subject B, payment of the bills. Mr. Edwards was supposed to go over the bills. I see he's not here, so I went over them briefly with Ms. Garner. I had a couple questions for you, Ms. Garner. One of them was under administration, if I remember right. You probably remember it better than I do. And that was on page 3 under administration. We had a $29,941.50 payment to Norfolk Public School System.
Yes, sir. It's for 2 students that we are paying that I think are in the hospital or something up in Norfolk. There are 2 students, and the total for one was $17,941.50, and the other student at $12,000.
All righty. Thank you, ma'am. I had one more, I think was under transportation. We had a $212,015.11 check to SunTrust Equipment. I'm assuming that's our bus lease.
Yes, sir. That was the first installment on our bus lease. That money has been deposited into an escrow account as the buses have not been fully accepted. We've been delayed a little bit with weather. So as soon as we get them in, hopefully Friday, we'll be able to get that first payment made.
Anyone have any questions or any other bills?
Yeah, still on transportation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items to Greenville County. totaling $3,663.17. Do you need the check number?
I'm still looking for the
It's on
Greenville
page.
County. Those are transportation services, I believe, for students having to go to Greenville County for assessment. They purchase services.
Miss, I think Ms. Pfeffer can answer to that, please.
It's actually for a foster child care kid that was placed in Greensville County, our county, that we are required to transport to the lead center in Petersburg.
And it's costing us $3,000 some dollars to do
That was
this?
probably over 2 months.
Oh, okay.
And yes, he's transported there every day from Greensville County. That has ended. He's been placed with his father in Halifax County, so we will no longer have a bill. We might have one more bill for the end of last month and the beginning of this month. So, but it is for a special ed child, and we are required to transport.
Okay. Thank you.
We could either hire a driver or pay them.
I'm sorry, hold on, my timer just went off for the last public input. And as you all well know, I'm very technology challenged, so you might have to stand clear because I might have to reimburse y'all for an iPad here in a minute. All right, anybody else have any questions on the bills? All righty.
So move.
Second.
Hear no further discussion. Have a motion. The school board approves the bills. All those in favor?
Abstain.
One abstain. Going to move on to subject C, our personnel agenda. Have a motion, the school board approves the personnel recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Sir, Mr. Sturtevant.
The discussion I have is hiring different positions at this time. Other than that, no other discussion.
Okay. Does anyone have any more discussion for personnel? Hearing none. Have a motion, the school board approves the personnel recommendations. All those in favor? All opposed? One opposed, Ms. Shuttleworth.
And I abstain.
And one abstain. We're going to move on to subject D, policy 2.2-2.3, distribution of materials. We have a motion, the school board approves revised policy 2-2.3,
So moved.
distribution of materials.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Would anyone like to have the policy reread to them? To be, I'm sorry, Ms. Miley.
I just so we're all on the same page. Basically, the policy is reading that open access to all, but certain guidelines have to be followed as outlined in the draft.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's up to the superintendent to decide, correct? Am I correct? Oh, it will
Review.
be there,
Review.
a committee?
Yeah, we're going to work with administration because different areas to display it will be used probably at different schools based on how they're physically built. But we'll decide. Policy is very clear, one per semester. But as far as the location, principals will work on the location and be consistent with every group.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone that got in touch with me to tell me their views, and so that I could explain it better to them to make sure that they understood. And I also want to take time to thank the students that got in touch with me to let me know exactly how they felt about it.
Is everyone clear on what we're voting on, or any more clarification on the policy? Ms. Wagstaff, you have something? Okay.
The only problem I have with the policy, it's very worrying to me that it eliminates any parental discretion as far as what their child is exposed to. That's it just is sort of taking parents out of the equation, which bothers me a little bit, because I've heard from a lot of people both ways too, and it's very difficult to talk to a parent. I mean, that's my issue. Parental discretion is.
I have some discussion.
Yes, sir.
The policy voted up or down. If this policy is voted down, it does not mean that children cannot take Bibles to school. The policy, as I see it, children are excluded. It does not apply to the children. So if this policy were to be voted down, kids could still take Bibles to school. They could take the life book to school. They could take whatever they want to school. What this policy is saying is, if we have open access, any group will have an opportunity to bring their brochures and literature to the school and place it in a certain area. Their material has to be reviewed by a board, and then the board will decide whether or not that literature can go in or not. So this policy only applies to outside groups taking literature into the school. That's all I have, Chairman.
Does anyone have any further discussion? Everyone's clear on what we're voting on? All righty. I have a motion and a second. The school board approves revised policy 2-2.3 for distribution of materials. All those in favor? All opposed? One opposed. Two opposed, Ms. Shuttleworth. I'm sorry. Just because I didn't raise my hand, I did vote in the affirmative. So just in case anybody's wondering, I'm used to not, Ms. Shuttleworth knows where we're going with that. So that was approved. We're going to move on to subject E, a 2014-2015 budget. I have a motion the school board approves the 2014-2015 budget.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion on our budget? Hear none? I have a motion the school board approves the 2014-2015 budget. All those in favor? All opposed? None opposed, Ms. Shuttleworth? All righty. Well, we're getting out here a little sooner than we did last time. We're going to roll on to board member remarks. We're going to start with you, Mr. Sturtevant, if you don't mind, sir.
I don't have any.
You don't have any?
No.
All right. Ms. Wagstaff, you have any board member remarks?
I do have a flooring project coming up, though. I would like to hire the Bluestone team. I do, really. The floor looked beautiful. I'm looking at lumber liquidators right now. I got the wood. I just need somebody to put it in. But I'd also like to ask, I know we got an email, you resent it from Gina about the spelling bee. I am going to be the Mecklenburg County Business Education Partnership spelling bee.
I was going to ask about that in just a minute.
Oh, okay, because I am available to work that night, so I really can't commit, but I would like to, if the school board has a team, I would like to contribute to some words.
Well, I'm hoping I was going to bring that up in just a minute and hope we can put together a team. I'd like to be on it because
you missed out last year.
We actually won one time. I wimped out the last couple of times.
You left us in the lurch.
Yeah. So anyone interested in it, please let Ms. Shuttleworth know so we can try to put together a team. Ms. Gorman?
I know all of you received an invitation to the robotics in Raleigh this coming weekend, and I urge you to go if possible. I went to Myrtle Beach. And they placed 22nd down there and actually were selected to go into the semifinals. They did an excellent job. This also offers an opportunity for these students to be looked at for colleges. In fact, we have one that's at UVA now that was approached last year at the competition. So if you have an opportunity, once you go, you will continue to go. Check that out. So please try. And I also have some dates for SVCC that I will email to each one of you for things that are coming up for the college.
Thank you, Ms. Gorham. Ms. Smiley?
I was excited to hear about the conference you all attended in North Carolina. What sounds like it's something I would have thoroughly enjoyed too, particularly hearing from employers, because that's what I do, is work with employers and want to know what they're looking for. So I'm excited to see what you all are going to bring as a result of that. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Tanner?
I want to thank the principals for coming forward and bringing those specific remarks about the wonderful things for our transportation department, and I want to personally thank them for the decisions that they made to keep all of our students safe, because I know that, you know, some parents can look out the door and their road is clear and they don't understand why we're closing school, and they don't realize that we have the entire county and all of the students to look out for. So I want to say thank you again for everything that they did. I used to have to make that decision when I worked somewhere in a previous life, and it's a tough one. It is a tough decision to make. And so they made the right calls on all of them, and I just want to applaud them for that. Also, the carpentry projects, all I want to say is that's what I'm talking about in Mecklenburg County. Yes. And also about the conference, that's why it's important for all of us to attend conferences. I know that we've heard comments in the past about the cost of those, but every time you go to a conference and you bring back material and information to the school system, we're helping our students. And so that validates the importance of attending conferences. And I just want to tell you, I've had 2 texts from my family. They say we're getting ready to have a really bad storm, so everyone be very careful on the way home.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Moody?
I have a couple of things I would like to say. First, starting off with our Teens for Jeans campaign that we started about 3 months ago. I like to say that with this joint effort with Parkview High School, we have collected over 500 pairs of jeans, and we'd like to thank Peoples and also Jones Apparel for their donations. They're greatly appreciated. I also like to give a big ups to our Bluestone High School basketball team on winning the district championship. They've been won it since 1995, and they also made it to the semi-regional finals. Our Bluestone High School athletics teams, golf, football, and also volleyball, and cross country has really stepped their game up this year. And I would like to say that Bluestone has done really tremendously great in the athletics program. Also, last night I had an opportunity to attend the Longwood Region FBLA Spring Conference. I'd like to proudly announce that Parkview High School has now elected a regional president, and Bluestone High School has elected as regional vice president. Hank Dunn and Megan, what's her last name? Young, sorry. And last but not least, I hope you all have a great spring break. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hawkins?
I know, first I want to say the STEM presentation really interested me, and if that autopsy trip does happen, I would love to go because I think that'd be so much fun. And then I also want to say, I think each of you received one of the flyers about the blood drive that's going on at Parkview High School. And I just want to say a huge thanks to first Miss Talley. She has a child care class at Parkview, and her students are actually volunteering to stay after school to watch children of the parents who are going to give blood. Miss Scruggs' class, she has the culinary arts, and they're going to have snacks and cookies made for the children while they're, you know, entertaining them. I also want to say a huge thanks to the Sheriff's Department and my daddy for for having deputies coming in and out all day. You know, since it is a public, people can come. It's a safety thing. Joe Young for having students on the radio to promote the blood drive. And our school has just really come together. We're really excited about it. We hope everybody comes. It's actually a scholarship opportunity. Every 50 people, we can get a scholarship. So that goes to one of the students at school. And I just want to say, please come out and support Parkview. We're really, really excited about it.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Thornton? Nothing to say? All right. Mr. Bullock?
I'm just going to be brief. I want to thank the teachers and the principal for a job they're doing well. And Ms. Hawkins had a birthday the other day, and I think somebody, I think she turned 18, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I think we should wish her happy birthday.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
I'd like to thank everyone for their input tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance, and everyone enjoy spring break, and we'll see you next month, and have a safe trip home. We have a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor?